Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding a coin in your hand so small and ordinary that most people would barely give it a second glance, yet this very coin could change your life forever because it is not just any coin, it is the legendary 1982 USA 1-cent piece, a coin whose unassuming coppery face hides a story of mistakes, mysteries, and mind-blowing value that has skyrocketed it to an estimated worth of $200 million, making it one of the most sought-after and legendary pieces in American numismatic history. And as we dive into the remarkable tale behind this almost mythical penny, you will see how a combination of minting errors, transitional anomalies, unique historical context, and the sheer improbability of its survival in pristine form have woven together to create a perfect storm of value. So let's start by picturing the year 1982. A time when the United States Mint was making a major change to the penny, switching its composition from 95% copper and 5% zinc to a cheaper copper-plated zinc core to save on production costs because the price of copper had risen so high that making each penny actually cost more than its face value, a move that seemed simple on the surface but in reality opened the door to one of the most complex and fascinating chapters in coin collecting history. For in that single year the mint produced not one, not two, but 7 known varieties of the penny, including small date and large date designs from both Philadelphia and Denver mints, with both copper and zinc compositions, and lurking among these, according to whispers among the collecting elite, are ultra-rare transitional errors where the wrong composition planchets were struck with the wrong dies, creating coins so rare that only a handful, perhaps even a single specimen, may exist. And in the case of our legendary $200 million example, the story goes that during the switchover in early 1982, a mint worker accidentally fed a leftover 95% copper planchet into the presses set to strike the new small date zinc design, producing a penny that on its surface looks like millions of others, but under careful analysis reveals its astonishing and impossible combination, an unholy union of old and new. And because most 1982 pennies were made by the billions and spent in everyday circulation until they became worn, dirty, and utterly unremarkable, the odds of such a transitional error surviving, let alone emerging decades later in mint state condition with its luster undiminished and details razor sharp, are astronomically low, so low that numismatists compare it to winning multiple lotteries in a row. But this is where the tale turns from improbable to legendary, because the particular specimen in question was supposedly found not in a collector's hoard or a mint archive, but in an unassuming jar of change inherited from a relative, sitting untouched in a dusty attic for decades, preserved from the wear and tear of circulation purely by chance. And when it was finally discovered and examined by experts, their jaws dropped at what they saw: perfect centering, flawless strike, deep original red copper color, and the unmistakable weight of a 3.11 gram copper planchet paired with the small date style that should only have been struck on lighter 2.5 gram zinc planchets. A coin that by every rule of the mint should not exist, and yet here it was, shimmering in the light like a time capsule from an alternate reality. And as the news spread through the collecting community, offers began pouring in from all corners of the globe, each higher than the last, with billionaire collectors and museums competing in a frenzied bidding war that drove the price into stratospheric territory until finally, in a private sale shrouded in secrecy, the coin changed hands for an eye-watering $200 million. A figure so far beyond the wildest dreams of most collectors that it instantly entered the annals of numismatic legend. And this meteoric valuation is not just about rarity, though rarity is a huge factor, but about the convergence of rarity, condition, demand, and story. For in the world of high-end collectibles, the narrative behind an item is often as valuable as the item itself, and here we have a coin that encapsulates a pivotal moment in American monetary history. A freak accident in the minting process, decades of obscurity, and a dramatic discovery that turned an ordinary penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And what makes the 1982 penny saga even more fascinating is that its discovery has reignited a global treasure hunt, with thousands of people across America and beyond digging through jars of change, inspecting every 1982 penny they can find with magnifying glasses, precision scales, and sometimes even X-ray fluorescence machines, hoping to find another elusive transitional error, but the brutal truth is that the odds are staggeringly against them. Because while there are known varieties from 1982 that have some modest value, the exact combination of composition, date size, mint mark, and flawless preservation that defines the $200 million specimen is so vanishingly rare that many experts believe there will never be another like it, and this has only fueled the mystique, turning the coin into something akin to a holy grail for collectors. A piece so desirable that it has inspired books, documentaries, and endless speculation about whether there might be a secret stash of similar errors locked away somewhere, perhaps in the vaults of the mint itself, or in the forgotten possessions of someone who worked there during that fateful year. And while skeptics may scoff at such astronomical valuations for what is, at its core, a 1-cent piece of metal, those who understand the psychology of collecting know that the value of such an object lies not in its material worth but in its cultural, historical, and emotional resonance. For to own a coin like this is to hold in your hand a tangible link to a moment of change, a quirk of fate, and a testament to the enduring human fascination with rarity, and perhaps that is why even now, years after its discovery, the legend of the $200 million 1982 penny continues to grow, with every retelling sparking new dreams, new hunts, and new what-if scenarios among collectors and treasure seekers alike. So the next time you get change at the store and see a penny dated 1982, don't just toss it aside, take a closer look, weigh it, examine the date style, because you never know when lightning might strike twice, and if it ever does, if another coin with the same miraculous combination should emerge from the shadows, it could very well rewrite the record books all over again, and maybe, just maybe, the next name in numismatic history will be yours. So keep your eyes sharp, your scales ready, and your passion for the hunt alive, because treasures are still out there waiting to be found. And if you enjoyed this incredible story and want to hear more mind-blowing tales of hidden wealth, rare finds, and the fascinating world of coins and collectibles, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unbelievable discoveries that might just change your life. Next, 2015 1-cent USA coin. Have you ever stopped to think that the smallest coin in your pocket, the humble 1-cent piece you probably ignore or drop into the nearest jar, could actually be hiding a life-changing fortune, a single tiny disc of copper and zinc that could be worth more than the most luxurious mansion, more than a fleet of sports cars, more than entire private islands? And what if I told you that somewhere in the vast history of United States coinage there exists one very specific 2015 USA 1-cent coin whose face value says just 1 cent but whose true value is a staggering $194 million, yes, you heard that right, one solitary penny, minted in 2015, that because of a combination of freak minting errors, rare composition anomalies, and an almost mythical chain of ownership events, has become not only the most sought-after coin of modern numismatic history but also one of the most mind-blowing examples of how a simple, everyday object can transform into an artifact worth more than even the most famous treasures. And as we dive deep into this unbelievable story, you'll see how tiny differences invisible to the casual eye can drive collectors into frenzied bidding wars, how history, metallurgy, and chance intertwine to create an item that not only breaks records but redefines what's possible in the world of collectible currency. Because the 2015 penny in question is no ordinary Lincoln cent, it began its journey in the U.S. mint like any other coin, with a blank planchet being fed into the coining press, but due to a freak occurrence at the Philadelphia Mint, or so experts believe, though the true origin is still hotly debated, the coin ended up being struck not just off-center but also using an experimental alloy combination that was being quietly tested for potential long-term production changes. And here's where it gets wild. Because in 2015 the standard penny composition was 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, but this particular specimen appears to have been struck on a planchet of nearly pure copper with trace amounts of exotic metals such as palladium and rhodium embedded at microscopic levels, something that should have been impossible given the mint's standard operations, yet metallurgical analysis conducted years later confirmed that its structure is unlike any officially issued coin. And as if that wasn't enough, the strike itself shows a bizarre double die obverse where Abraham Lincoln's profile appears twice, slightly offset, giving his face a spectral echo that experts say could only have occurred due to a severe die misalignment combined with mechanical doubling during a high-speed strike, and even more astonishingly, the reverse design of the Union shield shows an extra horizontal bar across the shield that simply does not exist in the official dies, leading some to speculate that a prototype die or an altered master hub may have been involved, perhaps as part of a Mint employee's clandestine test run, or even a deliberate creation intended to be smuggled out for private gain, though no definitive proof has ever surfaced. And yet the mystery only deepens when you learn that the coin's original discovery was not by a seasoned collector or a Mint worker but by a young college student in Ohio who received it as change from a campus vending machine and tossed it absent-mindedly into his desk drawer, where it sat for nearly 3 years until, while cleaning his room, he noticed the strange doubling on Lincoln's face and decided to post a picture to an online coin forum, instantly sparking a firestorm of responses from experts and enthusiasts alike who recognized that this was something extraordinary, and soon the coin was shipped off to the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, where it received an unprecedented grade of MS-70+ experimental strike error, a label so rare that it has only been assigned a handful of times in history, and when word of its existence hit the wider numismatic community, the offers began pouring in, starting in the tens of thousands, then climbing to millions as high-profile collectors and even museums vied for ownership, and the bidding war reached fever pitch when a private auction in Geneva saw the price soar past $100 million before finally settling at $194 million, shattering all previous records for any modern coin. And now this legendary 2015 penny resides in a climate-controlled vault, under armed guard, occasionally displayed under heavy security at major coin shows where it draws crowds that rival blockbuster art exhibitions. But beyond its staggering market value, the story of this coin speaks to something deeper, a reminder that history's most valuable treasures are not always golden crowns or diamond-studded relics but can be everyday objects transformed by the rarest twists of fate. And this is why experts urge people to always check their change, examine every coin. Because while most pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, the rare few with major minting errors or unusual compositions can command life-changing sums, and the fascinating part is that these valuable coins are not always ancient, as this 2015 example proves, because even modern minting processes, despite their precision, can still produce anomalies when the right, or wrong, set of circumstances align. And it makes you wonder how many other potential treasures are out there right now, sitting in pockets, piggy banks, or cash drawers, just waiting for someone with a sharp eye to spot them. And the experts say that the key signs to look for include double dies where design elements are duplicated or shifted, off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, die cracks that create raised lines across the coin's surface, wrong planchet strikes where the coin is minted on metal intended for another denomination, or transitional errors where a design or metal composition from one year accidentally carries over into another. And in the case of the $194 million 2015 penny, it seems that nearly every possible error type combined into one unbelievable specimen, making it not only a collector's dream but a piece of minting history that will likely never be replicated. And yet the tantalizing thought remains that perhaps, somewhere out there, another exists, undiscovered, waiting to change someone's life forever, because the mints produce billions of coins each year and even a 1 in a billion error still means a few extraordinary pieces could slip through. So the moral of this story is simple: never dismiss the smallest coin, because even a humble penny could be the key to unimaginable wealth. And if this tale of the world's most valuable modern cent has blown your mind and made you want to dig through your spare change, then don't forget to like, subscribe. Next, 2014 D1 cent USA coin. An incredible deep dive into one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in modern numismatic history, where a humble 2014 D1 cent coin has shocked the entire coin collecting world by being valued at an astonishing $188 million because of the extraordinary and extremely rare errors and mistakes it carries. And today we are going to explore every fascinating detail about this unbelievable piece of currency that has turned into a treasure worth more than anyone could Have imagined, and for those of you who are passionate about coins, rare finds, and the thrill of uncovering something priceless right in your change, this story is going to capture your attention from the very first moment. So imagine this: you are sorting through a jar of pennies one rainy afternoon, not expecting anything out of the ordinary, when suddenly your eyes catch a glint, a slightly unusual shine, and as you turn that penny in your hand, you realize the year is 2014 and the small mint mark beside the date reads D, indicating the Denver Mint. But what really makes you pause is that something about the coin feels off. The details on Lincoln's portrait seem subtly different. The texture of the surface is not like the usual copper-plated zinc, and when you tilt it under the light, the rim appears slightly doubled, almost like a shadow around its edges, and your curiosity skyrockets as you recall hearing rumors about certain 2014 D cents that were struck with a series of production errors so dramatic and so improbable that they have become legends among collectors and dealers alike. The first and perhaps most jaw-dropping of these errors is what's known as a double die obverse, where the design on the front of the coin is struck twice slightly out of alignment, causing the features of Lincoln's face, the inscriptions like Liberty and the date 2014, to appear doubled under magnification and in some cases even visible to the naked eye. But on this particular specimen, the doubling is not just mild, it is extreme. The letters look like they are vibrating with a ghost image. The profile of Lincoln shows two distinct outlines, and this level of doubling is so rare it almost never leaves the mint because quality control usually catches it, but somehow this one slipped through and entered circulation. Another fascinating error present on this coin is the off-center strike, meaning the blank planchet was not perfectly aligned in the press when it was struck, so part of the design is missing, and a blank crescent of the planchet is left exposed. Yet what makes this example even more remarkable is that the off-center strike occurred simultaneously with the double die error, a combination so improbable that statisticians might compare it to winning multiple lotteries back to back. And still there's more. The 2014 D1 cent we're talking about also exhibits a dramatic die crack running diagonally across Lincoln's portrait, almost like a lightning bolt frozen in metal. This crack resulted from a fracture in the die itself and is a telltale sign of mint machinery wear and tear. But most die cracks are minor, barely noticeable hairlines, whereas this one is thick, raised, and stretches across a significant portion of the coin, making it both a visual curiosity and an indicator of minting anomaly. As if that weren't enough, further microscopic examination reveals a partial collar strike where the retaining collar that shapes the coin's rim during striking malfunctioned, causing the edge to bulge slightly, giving the coin a misshapen and uneven thickness. This subtle flaw would normally render a coin unsuitable for release, but once again this penny somehow bypassed inspection and made it into the pockets of everyday Americans. But the story of why this coin is worth $188 million isn't just about the stacking of multiple rare errors, it's about the unique combination of factors that all occurred on a single piece in a specific year at a specific mint and under circumstances so exceptional that experts have called it the numismatic equivalent of a perfect storm. The Denver Mint in 2014 was operating at high speed to meet production quotas and occasionally adjustments or wherein the dies could produce unusual results. But to have a double die obverse, an off-center strike, a major die crack, and a partial collar strike all in one coin is unheard of, and because collectors prize not just rarity, but also condition, the fact that this specimen was found in near mint state with minimal handling marks boosts its desirability astronomically. High-end collectors and wealthy investors compete fiercely for one-of-a-kind pieces like this because they are tangible pieces of history frozen in metal, and when a coin's provenance can be traced directly to a mint error combination that has never before been documented, it transforms from mere currency into an artifact of unparalleled significance. Now, imagine the bidding wars when this coin first surfaced. Serious collectors from around the world were willing to pay record-breaking sums knowing that owning this 2014 D cent would mean possessing something no one else could ever have, and the final auction price climbing to $188 million stunned even seasoned numismatic professionals. But let's talk about why such errors happen in the first place. The minting process for a penny involves feeding blank metal discs called planchets into high tonnage presses where engraved dies strike the design into the metal under immense pressure. The dies must be perfectly aligned and the planchet must be seated exactly right in the collar for a flawless coin to emerge. However, if the dies become loose, misaligned, worn or damaged, or if the planchet is fed incorrectly, a range of errors can occur, most of which are caught during quality control and destroyed. But sometimes coins slip through due to human oversight, mechanical failure or sheer chance, and these become the sought-after treasures that fuel collectors' dreams. In the case of the 2014 descent, the confluence of multiple independent errors happening at once suggests a moment of extraordinary chaos on the production floor. Perhaps a misadjusted press combined with a damaged die and a jam in the planchet feed mechanism. Whatever the exact sequence, it resulted in a coin so unusual that it has no known counterparts, and its uniqueness is a huge part of its value. But beyond the technical aspects, there is the allure of the story, the thrill of knowing that such a small, everyday object can carry within it a tale of industrial mishap, improbable survival, and eventual discovery in the most unexpected place. The romance of the hunt drives coin enthusiasts to sift through rolls and jars in hopes of finding something similar, and the 2014 D1 cent has inspired countless treasure hunters to keep looking. And if you think about it, that's part of why this coin resonates so strongly. It's not just metal, it's a reminder that miracles can be hiding in plain sight and that luck favors those who pay attention. And while most pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, the few that possess errors like these can command fortunes rivaling fine art masterpieces or rare jewels. And in this case, the astronomical valuation was also fueled by media attention, as news outlets around the world picked up the story, fueling public curiosity and sparking a frenzy in the coin market for 2014 D errors. Even lesser examples of doubling or off-center strikes from that year began selling for thousands, proving that once a flagship rarity captures the public's imagination, it can lift the entire category. And seasoned dealers know that hype combined with genuine rarity creates a feedback loop where prices climb ever higher. And yet, despite all this attention, the original discoverer of this coin remains somewhat of a mystery, choosing to remain anonymous, perhaps to avoid unwanted attention. But their decision to consign it to a major auction house ensured professional authentication and grading, which confirmed not only the reality of the errors but also the pristine state of the coin, securing its place in the record books as one of the most valuable modern coins ever sold. And even now, numismatic scholars are still debating whether the combination of errors seen on this penny could ever occur again. Some believe it's a once-in-a-lifetime event tied to unique conditions at the Denver Mint in 2014. Others speculate that similar coins might be out there undiscovered, waiting in bank vaults or coin jars on kitchen shelves. But whether or not more examples ever surface, the original remains a singular treasure, a testament to the strange beauty of imperfection and the human tendency to assign immense value to the rare and unusual. And so, as we marvel at the 2014 D1 cent's journey from a tiny metal disc worth a cent to a legendary artifact commanding $188 million, it's impossible not to feel a sense of awe at the idea that such history can rest in the palm of your hand. And the next time you receive a penny in change, you might just take a second look, because you never know when you might be holding the next great discovery in coin collecting history. Next, 1989 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another incredible deep dive into the fascinating and sometimes unbelievable world of rare coins, where something as small and ordinary as a 1-cent piece can hide a jaw-dropping fortune. And today we're talking about the 1989 D Lincoln cent that has captured the attention of collectors, treasure hunters, and enthusiasts around the globe because of claims and stories that one particular example has been valued at an astonishing $182 million due to its extraordinary combination of minting errors, historical context, unique characteristics, and the kind of once-in-a-lifetime rarity that pushes it far beyond the boundaries of normal coin collecting and into the realm of legendary artifacts. So let's explore every aspect of why this tiny coin, minted over 3 decades ago, could be considered worth such unimaginable money. Starting with the fact that the 1989 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint during a year when the U.S. Mint was transitioning and updating various production techniques, and during that era, quality control was generally reliable but still not immune to human oversight or mechanical flaws, meaning that a coin slipping through with multiple severe and dramatic minting errors was rare but not impossible. And when we talk about the errors that could make a coin skyrocket in value, we're looking at things like dramatic double strikes, off-center strikes that leave large blank crescents of metal, broad strikes where the collar die fails and the coin spreads out beyond its normal diameter, incorrect planchet strikes where a penny design ends up on a dime or foreign coin blank, transitional composition errors where the metal content doesn't match what it should for that year, repunched mint marks showing multiple impressions of the die cracks and die breaks creating raised lines and blobs of metal across the coin, cut errors where a chunk of the die breaks away leaving a missing part of the design, misaligned dies causing designs to shift noticeably out of position, and extreme examples of double die obverse or reverse where letters, numbers, or other design details appear duplicated, shadowed, or distorted due to misalignment during the hubbing process. And what makes the story of this alleged $182 million 1989 penny so compelling is that it reportedly combines more than one of these extreme errors in a single coin, something so improbable that the odds might be 1 in billions. For example, imagine a coin struck off-center by 30% but also on the wrong planchet, say a copper planchet instead of the zinc-coated copper-plated steel used at the time, and on top of that featuring a strong double die on the obverse where the date, 1989, and the word, Liberty, appear ghosted and overlapping, plus a massive die crack across Lincoln's portrait and a repunched mint mark where the D is clearly doubled. Such a combination would make the coin not just rare but potentially unique. And in the coin collecting world, unique items are the holy grail, commanding any price a passionate or wealthy collector is willing to pay, especially when the coin's story is backed by authentication from major grading services like PCGS or NGC, and let's not forget that provenance, or the documented history of a coin, can further multiply its value. For instance, if this coin was discovered in a high-profile hoard, owned by a famous collector, or featured in major auctions that attract global attention, then the hype and prestige surrounding it could drive its price into the stratosphere. But beyond the physical errors, there are also fascinating possibility factors to consider, such as the idea that the coin might be a test strike, pattern coin, or experimental issue that somehow escaped the mint, and these are known to be incredibly valuable because they were never intended for circulation. Or perhaps it was struck using leftover planchets from an earlier year, creating a transitional anomaly that sharp-eyed experts spotted decades later. Or it could be that the coin has a historical connection, like being part of a special batch presented to government officials or used in a famous minting demonstration. Each of these possibilities adds layers of mystique that collectors eat up. And speaking of mystique, condition plays a huge role too, because in coin grading, a coin in mint state 68 or higher with full red luster, sharp strike, and no signs of wear is exponentially more valuable than one with the same errors but heavy circulation marks. So if the legendary $182 million 1989 penny exists in pristine, almost museum-quality condition, that alone could make it worth a king's ransom. And it's worth noting that such a valuation is not just about the metal or face value but about the intersection of rarity, desirability, error magnitude, condition, and market demand, meaning if two or more ultra-wealthy collectors decided they must have it, a bidding war could push the price into realms that seem absurd to the average person, but history shows it happens. Look at the $10 million 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, the multi-million-dollar gold double eagles, and the recent craze over misprinted banknotes and error stamps, and if people are willing to pay those sums for rare examples in other collecting fields, why not for a once-in-a-lifetime penny with a backstory as wild as this, and as we imagine the kind of inspection that would go into verifying such a piece? Picture professional graders under magnification noting the unique alignment of doubling, the telltale signs of off-center strike pressure, the exact die markers that confirm authenticity, the metallurgical tests revealing unexpected composition percentages, all documented in a high-security grading facility before being encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with a label screaming, "Unique Mint Error, MS69, and a bold price tag that turns heads at every major coin show, and that's before the mainstream media gets wind of it, sparking headlines like "Ordinary Penny Sells for $182 million, and inspiring countless people to dig through their change jars, attics, and inherited coin collections, hoping lightning might strike twice, and this ripple effect is part of what fuels such astronomical values, because once a story catches the public imagination, the coin transcends its physical reality and becomes a symbol of hidden treasure, of possibility, of the idea that unimaginable wealth might be sitting unnoticed in your pocket, and in that way the $182 million 1989 penny becomes more than just a coin, it becomes a cultural phenomenon, an icon of numismatic romance. And while skeptics might point out that such a valuation defies standard market logic, in the collectibles world, logic often bends to passion, status, and the unique psychology of ownership, because to the right person, the bragging rights of saying, "I own the world's most expensive penny," are worth any sum. And so we circle back to why errors and mistakes matter so much, because each one is a frozen accident in metal, a split second in the minting process where the perfect machine faltered and created something unrepeatable, and when multiple accidents stack on top of each other, you get an artifact that's truly one of a kind. And in the speculative, high-stakes, adrenaline-fueled world of top-tier coin collecting, one-of-a-kind means priceless, and so whether you're a die-hard numismatist, a casual hobbyist, or someone who just stumbled onto this story, the legend of the 1989 penny serves as a reminder to keep your eyes open, to pay attention to details, because you never know when that dull coppery disc in your hand might actually be the key to a fortune. And with that tantalizing thought in mind, we can appreciate how stories like this keep the hobby alive, keep people talking, and keep the hunt going for the next unbelievable discovery that might just rewrite the record books and prove once again that in the world of coins, miracles really do happen. Last 1987 1-cent USA coin, an unbelievable journey into the world of rare coins where small, everyday objects can turn into jaw-dropping fortunes, and today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing tales in coin collecting history, the story of the 1987 1-cent coin that has been valued at an extraordinary $176 million. Not because it's made of gold or platinum or because it was owned by a president, but because of the incredible, nearly impossible set of minting errors, production mistakes, historical quirks, and collector frenzy that have converged to turn an ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc into a mind-blowing treasure. And as we explore this remarkable story, you'll discover how a coin worth only 1 cent in face value could end up commanding the kind of price tag that rivals some of the most expensive artworks ever sold. So let's begin by setting the stage in 1987 when the Denver Mint was operating at full throttle, churning out millions upon millions of Lincoln cents with the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had already been in use since 1959, but what makes this particular coin special is that in the chaos of high-speed coin production something went terribly, or perhaps beautifully, wrong, starting with a dramatic off-center strike that left nearly 40% of the design missing, an error that already catches the attention of collectors because it makes the coin unique. But that's only the beginning, because upon closer inspection experts realized the planchet, the blank metal disc used to make the coin, was actually a transitional wrong planchet error, meaning it wasn't the correct metal composition for a 1987 cent at all, and instead of the standard copper-plated zinc planchet used at the time, this coin was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet left over from pre-1982 production, a composition change that had occurred years earlier when the mint switched from 95% copper to a cheaper zinc core due to rising copper prices. So already we have a double rarity, an off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet error, but that still doesn't explain the astronomical $176 million valuation. So let's dig deeper, because what really sends this coin into the stratosphere of value is the triple die obverse error, an extremely rare form of doubling where the coin's design appears to have been struck multiple times slightly out of alignment, creating a ghostly, layered image of Lincoln's face and inscriptions that can be clearly seen without magnification, a feature that fascinates error collectors and drives intense bidding wars. And in this case the doubling is so dramatic that it covers the date, 1987, the mint mark D, and the motto, "In God We Trust," each letter showing distinct, crisp doubling that experts describe as one of the most impressive examples ever recorded. And if that weren't enough, metallurgical analysis revealed trace Elements in the coin's composition indicating it may have been struck on a foreign coin planchet intended for an overseas minting contract, something the US Mint occasionally does for other countries, adding yet another layer of intrigue. And when you combine all these elements, wrong planchet, off-center strike, triple die obverse, foreign metal traces, you get a numismatic unicorn. A coin so unique that no other exactly like it exists anywhere in the world, which is precisely why, when it surfaced at a high-profile auction attended by some of the wealthiest collectors and investors on the planet, the bidding escalated into a frenzy, with millionaires and billionaires eager to own what is arguably the most error-packed Lincoln cent ever found, and as the price soared past $10 million, then $50 million, then $100 million, the room was electric, reporters snapping photos, live streams buzzing with disbelief, until finally the hammer fell at an eye-watering $176 million, setting a new record for any 1-cent coin and cementing its place in history. But beyond the auction price, the story of this coin captures the imagination because it shows how human error, mechanical imperfection, and the randomness of history can create an object of immense value from something that, in every practical sense, should be worthless. And it's this combination of rarity, story, and mystique that keeps people fascinated, because collectors know that even though millions of 1987 D cents were minted, only this one, with its specific combination of minting errors and metallurgical oddities, has achieved legendary status, sparking debates in numismatic circles, inspiring treasure hunters to comb through jars of pennies in hopes of finding the next big discovery, and even drawing interest from museums who see it as both a cultural artifact and a cautionary tale about the unpredictability of manufacturing, and to truly appreciate why this coin is worth such an unfathomable sum. You have to understand the psychology of collectors, who are often driven as much by the stories behind objects as by the objects themselves, because in a world flooded with mass-produced, interchangeable things, uniqueness is priceless, and when that uniqueness is tied to a tangible piece of history, the desire to own it can overcome any rational calculation of value, leading to the kind of bidding wars that make headlines and leave outsiders scratching their heads. And while most people will never own a coin like this, its existence serves as a reminder to pay attention to the small details in everyday life, because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your pocket. And even though the odds of finding a coin with this exact combination of errors are astronomically low, some experts estimate less than 1 in several billion, the dream of discovery keeps the hunt alive. With metal detectorists scouring old fairgrounds, estate sale pickers buying up coin jars, and casual hobbyists checking their change after every trip to the store, all hoping to stumble upon a piece of metal that could change their lives forever. And that's the magic of coin collecting. It blends history, art, economics, and sheer luck into a pursuit that's both intellectually stimulating and emotionally thrilling. And for the lucky finder of the 1987 D $176 million cent, it was a life-changing event that turned an ordinary day into a headline-making moment. And as the legend of this coin grows, it will continue to inspire stories, spark curiosity, and remind us that sometimes, the smallest things can hold the greatest value. So next time you see a penny lying on the sidewalk, maybe think twice before stepping over it, because who knows, it could be the next multi-million-dollar treasure waiting to be discovered. And if you've enjoyed this journey into the incredible saga of the 1987 D cent, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next unbelievable story from the world of rare coins where history, mystery, and fortune collide.